Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today, the world's best daily sports betting show. And we got an unbelievable show lined up for you all. Andy Lang, right off the bat, he's got a bet for us on tonight's NFL football game between Green Bay and Philadelphia, located in Brazil, the first time ever. He's also got a plus 250 dog in the UFC contest on Saturday. Gianni, after that, he's got a favorite for you on the UFC fight, as well a call on the Minnesota Vikings New York Giants game. We're going to end this with Ross Benjamin, a bet on the Colorado-Nebraska game, a bet on the Boise State-Oregon game, Teddy's big game breakdown, Arizona State versus Mississippi State, right?
Yes, sir. Late night, West Coast bailout action. I'll break it down for you in Big Game Breakdown. And, of course, in What Bettors Learned, we'll talk about last night's quarter of an inch, half an inch, the toe tap, and how that is a nice metaphor for the NFL season to come.
And I'd like to talk also about those two teams and what I saw. We're going to end the show with a daily presidential address. I've got a play for you on Penn State versus Bowling Green and Rutgers against Akron. My man, let's get going. Andy freaking Lang. How did you rate my opening, Andy?
I thought it was great. I give it a 6 out of 10.
6. That's great.
There's room for improvement. There's room for improvement.
To wake up with such low expectations. So if great is a 6, like is a 7 amazing and an 8 unbelievable? What's a 10?
I don't give out 10s.
Okay, fair enough.
There are no 10s. Yeah.
Let's get straight into it, dude. I flipped your plays around because I wanted to start with the Philadelphia Green Bay game right off the bat. And you've got a bet for us in this game. Makes obvious sense to me. Tell us about it and why.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at this price on Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. It's only minus 105. This is Jalen Hurts, who scored a rushing touchdown in 9 out of the first 12 games of the year last year. I just think this Jason Kelce retirement's a little overblown. His replacement has been with the Eagles. This is a guy that backed up Jason Kelce. This is a guy that played alongside Jason Kelce. Jalen Hurts is healthy, and this is a Packers team that gave up 15 rushing touchdowns last year. The nice thing about this play, let's say it doesn't hit tonight, you're going to be able to come back and play it next week at maybe plus money. And it does hit tonight. You got a nice minus 105 winner. So Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. This is a pretty low price, in my opinion.
I got 2 quick follow-ups for you. First, where are you at? You're on location today. Tell us what's going on.
So this is really, really cool. I'm at the Indy 500 track, and I'm doing some camera work for this race. But, Teddy, here's the craziest thing. The cars that are down there that are racing, they have no drivers. This is a test autonomous race with driverless cars. They're going to race for 4 hours. No drivers. This is the most. This is one of the. This is one of the craziest pieces of camera work or production I've been in, and I've been doing this since college. So this was really, really cool for me. There's nobody here. It's a test. There's no fans, nothing. This is just a 4-hour test on driverless cars. I saw him practice earlier, and it messes with your mind. You see these cars go by, and there's nobody in them. So it's going to be pretty cool. This is a fun day.
Now let me ask you about the bet. You're talking about Jalen Hurts scoring a touchdown. And I want to ask you conceptually. I always want to bet no's on these. I always think all the values with a no.
Yeah.
Is there ever value with the yes on a player to score a touchdown? What are we going to see? 5 touchdowns in this game? Is Jalen Hurts to get a TD? Is there legit value in a play like that?
Anything under this minus 130 on Jalen Hurts is value, in my opinion. Like I said, he did this in 9 out of the first 12 games. He was hurt towards the end of the year, and he was still scoring touchdowns. I think the tush push is still here to stay. I think it's one of the most unstoppable plays in all of football. And I play this week after week. As long as this is below minus 130, I think this is a play. If I'm cashing this 9 out of 12 weeks like I did last year, this is a profitable play each week.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, Andy, because I look at this and think to myself, can he do this, every second game. If he can, that line is right on, and ultimately you just need one extra game. And it looks like, based on last year and based on what we're hearing, that will be the case. Let's turn our attention to some UFC. Vanessa Demopolous against Jacqueline Amorim. I am the worst pronouncer of last names in the world. You like Vanessa at plus 250. I prefer Jacqueline for other reasons. Tell us how to bet this fight.
You actually got Jacqueline's name right, Amorim. That's Vanessa Demopolous. Last time Vanessa Demopolous fought, I came on this show and I said, you got to play her at plus 300. And guess what? She cashed. We're going to go back and do it again. Vanessa Demopolous just should not be plus 250 against some of these fighters that she's fighting. She's got great cardio. So all 3 rounds, she's going to have plenty of energy. She's going to be better on the feet than Amorim. And Amorim has won her last 2 fights, but against pretty bad opponents. She knocked out Ruiz with ground and pound, but that was because Ruiz got tired in the 3rd round. Demopolous, that's not going to happen. Amorim actually got an arm bar, which you don't see a whole lot these days in women's MMA, over Corey McKenna. Demopolous is too good on the ground. So I get Vanessa Demopolous, who's going to have better cardio. She's going to have the better top wrestling game, and she's going to be much better on the feet. The only way Amorim is going to have an advantage is if she can get on top of Demopolous and control her. And Demopolous has this kryptonite that the judges love, which is if she's on her back, but she's constantly throwing punches and constantly throwing elbows, she jumps up at the end of the round and throws her hands in the air like she just won a dominant round, and the judges love her. The judges just love her for it. This is probably going to be a decision. It's probably going to be a split decision or a 29-28. But at plus 250, I get Demopolous with better cardio, better striking, and the better top game. No brainer at this price.
Andy, my apologies, brother. I lost you after you mentioned Jacqueline on top. So I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to that segment. Teddy?
Can I tell you something else that is going to have your interest? Vanessa Demopolous, former stripper.
Can we move on? Because last night my daughter told me I'm a pervert. So my wife told me I'm what is the word? My wife told that I am I can't remember. But yeah, not good. We must move on now. Teddy, get us to move on.
So let me ask you about Demopolous here, Andy. A mispriced fighter last time out. Are the markets just like $1 off on this fighter? And if so, why?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. I think part of it is because Amorim is coming off of 2 finishes, but again, against subpar opponents. And make no mistake, Demopolous has won 2 fights in a row. The fight two fights ago, she did not win that. That was just a terrible decision, but she got the benefit of the doubt. But they've been very close decision wins. So Demopolous is squeaking out decisions where Amorim's coming in off of 2 finishes. That's my best guess. Maybe the line is just saying Demopolous' luck is going to run out. I don't buy it. I think Demopolous squeaks out another close one.
There we go. Andy freaking Lang. What do you got to promote, brother?
We've got NFL Week 1 pack that is up. We've got several plays loaded for Sunday. And very excited about our college football team total bet of the week. We were 13-4 last year on these, and we hit our first one. So we're on a 14-4 lifetime run on college football team totals. That's our strategy with college football. 1 play a week, get a win, get out. That is locked and loaded for Saturday. Very excited about the weekend for college football and NFL. Plus 151 units, I believe, for 2024. So we keep humming along, coming off of a tough loss last night. Full disclosure, we had Karlaftis over his sacks, but looking to rebound and have a good weekend.
Andy Lang, everyone. Great show still to come. Gianni the Greek and Ross Benjamin, plus Teddy's big game breakdown and my daily presidential address. Teddy, lots to unpack here, but really quick, I got a great question from one of our listeners and a new listener at that. So Kenny Varner, thank you for joining us. I haven't seen your name. Does the new NFL kickoff rules affect your handicap at all? The answer from me is a no, Teddy.
No.
There you go. Teddy, let's get into what did bettors learn?
Sure. Let's talk about last night. And it was a thrilling game between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Baltimore gets the ball back, down 7, 87 yards, no timeouts, $1:50 on the clock. And it's boom, 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 right down the field. A big play to Rashad Bateman. And now they have time for 3 shots at the end zone. Open receiver first down, and Lamar Jackson missed him. Open receiver second down, and Lamar Jackson missed him. Not very open receiver third down, and Lamar Jackson completed the throw. Touchdown! And then, of course, you see Harbaugh signaling, go for two, which is exactly what Ravens bettors were hoping for, and exactly what I would do with a tired defense on the one hand and facing Patrick Mahomes on the other. And facing a tired defense, it was a no-brainer that Harbaugh was going for 2, and they already had the 2 fingers up. And then the review clearly showed that Isaiah Likely's toe was out by what? An inch? Half an inch? Whatever it was. So instead of 27-26 final or 28-27 final, it's 27-20 final. By an inch, by a half inch. Total already cashed over 46. It didn't really matter. But sidewise, that half inch mattered a lot. NFL lines are tight. We say this, we mean this, know this. NFL games are tight. We talk about the best team versus the worst team right now. Less than 2 touchdown differential in anyone's power ratings. If KC was at Carolina or at New England, they're no more than -10 in those games. So from the top to the bottom of the league, we know there's parity. That half inch is going to happen again. Whether it's a 4th down stop, a guy who doesn't get out of bounds and the clock runs out, whatever it is. These half inches matter in football. And it's the same story with betting. I say it again and again. Every half point matters, just like those half inches. Think of that half inch last night as a metaphor for what we do. It's little edges over time. No, sometimes the half yards and the half points are going to work against you. Try not to let it make you too crazy. Last night I had Baltimore plus. Certainly the ending of the game was really, you take your breath, you take your minute, you go upstairs and you do your work. At least that's how I try to handle these spots. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence. The half yard as a metaphor for sports betting. What about you?
Teddy, it's not only the half inch, so to speak. You know, they had Henry in the backfield, missed him by an inch. That would have stalled a drive. You had Mahomes running around on 3rd down, about to be sacked. Instead, he completes like a 30-yard pass, and that was an inch, so to speak. It's these small plays, these crucial plays that are going to determine what happens. I was on the under last night. I was frustrated as hell. But the interesting thing about watching the game last night was I was with one of my closest friends, and he was on the over. And it is amazing how people perceive the games. I watched that game, and I thought this is a stone cold under. The defenses are playing great, minus a few plays here or there. You had a blown coverage for KC to get their last 7 points. You had a Baltimore turnover for KC to get 3 points. You had 3 third downs completed for Baltimore to get their first 7 points. You had that almost sack for KC to get their 7 points. His interpretation was this was a stone cold over and a lot of points were left on the table. I found that interesting because we watch these games with jaded, objective eyes, subjective eyes. Anyway,
And
I was
that's
on the
why.
yeah.
Let me just jump in. On Sunday afternoons, I'll watch the 4th quarter of the games that I'm betting. Otherwise, a lot of times I'm watching other games that I have no action on whatsoever because you get a clearer read of the games and the teams that you have no action on. So I spend a lot of time. I watch a lot of football in games that I don't bet and don't plan on betting in game to pick up information for future wagers.
Yeah, I always watch my games, and I hate doing it. Gianni the Greek joining us. Gianni, how are you, my friend?
Glad I've been on for the last 5 minutes and have listened to this because I swear to God, I had no idea on my life how that game ended. I just checked about 10 minutes ago. I saw that it was 27-20, and I just dug into the box score, and I saw, okay, it was probably some bad luck along the way. But if I just blindly look at the box score, I would think that I covered. Like Baltimore did not look like they lost that game based on the box score or lost by more, than a field goal. So, that's how I go back and look at it.
Right.
That the way they lost is random. Like that's going to happen to you. You watch enough games, you place enough bets, you're going to win every possible way. You're going to lose every possible way. That randomness will affect it. But the key is to place good bets and not let that emotion affect you from placing a good bet. Like losing that way, don't let it affect you. That's the key.
So I got two quick things to say to that. People, and I'll make the analogy with poker. You go in with aces, they get cracked. You go in with aces again, they get cracked. You then call your friends, you whine and you bitch how unlucky you are. Yep. They respond with, it all comes around. It all works itself out. It does not. It does not work itself out. And the reason it doesn't work itself out is the only way you can have a unlucky beat is if you're on the right side. That's the key. What Gianni mentioned was make good bets. If you are all in ahead, you can only get unlucky. You can't get lucky. Keep making good bets. Keep making the right poker calls, and you will get unlucky, and it won't work itself out, but you won't get unlucky enough to destroy the good bets on an overall basis. And lastly, really quick. Over the long term. And lastly, really quick, what stood out to me, and I know you didn't watch this game, Gianni, but what stood out to me last night is Baltimore is going to be unbelievable this year. Anyway, real quick question from Priest Mahomes. I wanted to wait because I wanted your opinion here, Gianni. And this is something that all our listeners are faced with on a regular basis. He received a sportsbook bonus that is not insignificant compared to the size of his bankroll. Do you keep doing it? Because the next day you'll get another bonus. Do you chase these bonuses in the sports books, or do you just pick your 3 or 4 sports books and stick there? Gianni, Teddy?
I actually, back in the day, worked with a group that they were bonus hunters. That's all they did. They hunted down bonuses. But that was at a time when the offshore market blew up, and they were given so many reload bonuses. I'm talking 100%, 200%. So we were doing that. In fact, so many other groups were giving us their capital because we were making such a return on investment. What happened eventually was most of the money got tied up in one book, meaning we were winning with that one book and losing spread out. Well, that one book decided not to pay us. So 2 years of work, more or less, went down the drain because about $80,000 was sitting in that one book. And they said, hey, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. You have zero money in this account. That's all we know. And back then, there was no recourse at all. So that was the problem with bonus hunting, just sharing that story. Hey, listen, if you're making profit off it, then do it. It's like scalping and middling. If that's your angle, then use it and take advantage of it because there are bonuses out there. But to do it just for the case of getting a free bet or whatever, I don't see the reason to do all that. But again, if you're making it a business and it plus EV for you, have at it and keep picking up bonuses.
Teddy, any thoughts?
I'm sure Gianni would agree with me in this portion of the argument. However many accounts you have, get more. If you have 1, get 2. You have 2, get 4. You have 4, get 8. You have 8, get 20. All right. Any book that's legal in your state, you should have an account at, plain and simple. And that means picking up the bonuses as you open your account. So in that sense, it's like, no, I'm not playing at the same 3 books every day. I'm playing at every book that's available to me and searching for those extra half points because they make all the difference over time.
They make, and all the difference. Same with the bonuses. So my answer to that question is bonus hunt, baby. They're going to give you free stuff. You take it because guess what? They are trying to get your money in the long run. Let's get moving, dude. Gianni, let's start with NFL, and then we'll go into the UFC. Minnesota, the New York Giants. Minnesota is now -1.5. You told us to bet this play when it was a pick 'em a few weeks ago. Do you still like Minnesota?
Yes, and that's why I brought it up again, because I figure not everybody is watching every single week, and there's new people entering the market every single day. And this is just really a strong bet because it has all the pieces that we're looking for in week one, meaning you don't have data for this year. Everything is just a projection of what's going to happen. And when you're projecting, you're going further out on the risk curve. You need a bigger return on investment. That's not going to happen when you're laying 11 to 10. So we're looking off of last year's data. What do we have? We have a team in Minnesota that regressed in a big way off 2022, meaning they had a lot less wins than 2022. Their turnover ratio was one of the highest negatives in the league. You expect them to get more lucky this year. And on top of it, they're playing New York Giants team, which is the exact opposite. They're coming in off a year where they got extremely lucky as far as turnovers go, even when you look at the fumbles. So Minnesota had a negative turnover ratio, very high, double digit, in fact, because they lost a lot of fumbles. And we know fumbles are 50-50 once they hit the ground. So you expect that luck to get a little bit better, Giants' luck to get a little bit worse. And again, I like the fact that Minnesota regressed off of last year. And we saw that before. Remember, they won, I think, 9 games in 2021, then jumped up 5 games, won 14 the season after 2022. So we saw a drop off last year. I think now you see a come up for Minnesota. I like the Minnesota Vikings. Anything less than 3, I think they're the right side.
So let me ask you this, because you said that Minnesota, they'd won 13 games the previous year, and then last year everything fell apart. And you're assuming that the regression comes positively for Minnesota this year. I look at Minnesota, and that 13-win season was the aberration. They were a losing team before. They had one lucky year. And if you remember that year, everything broke right for them that year. And then last year, they were down to mediocre or below mediocre. And this year, they don't even have a quarterback. What makes you think that the Vikings are bet on in this spot?
Well, they're not quarterback. I think that actually helps because they had a rookie. What was he going to do? Come up and light up the league? So, I mean, at least now they have
Kirk Cousins last year.
No, I'm saying this year about the rookie quarterback this season. Now, here's what I like about Minnesota. They're a team where we've seen over the last how many years, like it's not like they're a bottom feeder team, like they're the New York Jets, and all of a sudden they jumped out of nowhere and had a good year. I think I get that the 13 win was a jump, but you saw them regress off of that. So it's not as if they continued to get lucky. What happened did happen. They regressed off that kind of season. I think last year is the exact opposite of that 13-win season. And it's based mostly off, I think, those turnovers were double digit. I don't think anyone in the NFC, maybe one team, had a worse turnover differential than Minnesota. I think they get luckier, and I'm anti-Giants this year as well. Yeah. I just don't think they're going to be very good at all. I think their home field advantage is almost nil at that. And I like the fact that the sharp bettors agree with me. The market's moving with me. And I even like the fact that I'm seeing a lot of Giants teasers from the betting public. The recreational bettors, when I start seeing them tying up the Thursday night game to one particular Sunday game, I pay real close attention to that Sunday game. And so many teasers. I don't know why they were teasing Kansas City yesterday, taking them to +3, but for some reason, a lot of people were doing that. And they tied them into a ton of Giants getting, up to that 7.5, which makes sense. It's a Wong teaser, so I get it. But when you start seeing a lot of public money on a dog, I tend to the favorite tends to stick out a little bit more to me. You expect the public to be on the favorite, but when they're on a dog, I pay a lot more attention to that. I always tell people, don't fade the public. You ain't going to get rich doing that unless you're getting 11 to 10. But when you see one-sided dog action, you need to pay attention because we know the bias is on the favorites and over. Just like when 90%'s on the under. Pay attention. That matters. When there's 90% on the over, that don't matter. That's what's supposed to happen. But when they're opposite, that's when you pay attention.
Just to clarify, everybody, when he mentioned a Wong teaser, he's talking about the second leg of that teaser. Teasing Kansas City was a wrong teaser, not a Wong teaser. Yes, just wanted to clarify that for everybody there. Gianni, real quick, because we want to talk NFL and college football.
I have so much gold. Yes, sir.
Super quick, dude. You got a UFC bet for us. And then we're going to move our attention to you just going, verbal diarrhea on us.
Yeah, real quick, Gabriel Santos, I laid minus 220, 240, and again 265 yesterday because he should be a minus 400 favorite where he wins this fight 8 out of 10 times. He's 0-2 in the UFC for one reason only, the level of competition he's faced. Now, in his first fight, he got a split decision, and his stock flew really high because it was a fight he was supposed to get mauled in. It was his UFC debut. He didn't. So he came out in his second fight against stellar competition, but was overvalued. What happens? If you bet against him, you did well. You won. But now he's coming in extremely undervalued because his opponent looks like he's on fire. He's 5-0 on road to the UFC. That's a tournament over in Asia, but the level of opposition is so weak. This kid fought one UFC fight so far in his career, and it was against an 0-0 opponent. He got crushed. So he's 5-0 in that weak opposition. Now he's facing UFC level opposition again. Gabriel Santos starts his hot streak on Saturday. Lay the chalk. Again, I don't like coming on and giving up chalk because on paper, the chalk side should look better anyway. But this is just way off. This should be a minus 400 favorite. And the fact that it opened at minus 200 because he's 0-2 is the only reason for that.
Johnny the Greek says, look at Gabriel Santos to take care of business in UFC action right here in Las Vegas on Saturday night. Johnny, we got just a few minutes left with you, and I know that you move for some of the bigger groups back east. Why don't you talk about where some of these moves are coming? College football, NFL, where's the money showing with the groups that you're betting with?
Yes, sir. And real quick for the UFC fans out there, main event, co-main event, bet the favorite. Sean Brady and Talia Silva get the job done. In college football, we're on the over in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati from 60, Teddy, all the way to 62. They were betting. So 60 and a half, 61, 61 and a half, all the way to 62. They like the over in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Florida Atlantic minus 3.5. Baylor plus 2 touchdowns and the hook. And Iowa State's the side. Iowa State plus the 3. Iowa State money line. Iowa State plus the points first half. Iowa State money line first half. It's like when they bet a baseball game, they take the money line and the run line for the game and the first half. It means they're trying to get a ton of money down before the line moves too significantly. So they have to get creative and use those derivatives at the same time. And that's what happened there with Iowa State. Also, the over in UTSA, Texas State. Real quickly, Houston, first half plus 17 and under 27 in that first half. Seems correlated to me. I like that as well. And Texas Tech minus the 1.5. And real quickly, Utah State, USC over 14 first quarter. NFL real quickly, Steelers short. Vikings, I gave you Panthers plus the 4, Titans plus the 4, Bills up to 6.5, Texans minus the 2, Chargers minus the 3, Browns money line and minus the 1.5, Jets on Monday night. Couple totals over in the Saints, over in the Titans, two-way action on the Steelers Falcons, over in the Buccaneers. That's everything that I've moved and guys that I share with have moved in NFL and college football to date.
Gianni the Greek, outstanding stuff. Yeah. Guys, Gianni's going to be on Wager Talk Last Call on Sunday with this guy. A Gianni Prez show hosted by Kelly on Sunday. Gianni, am I wrong? That's and Saturday, but I'm on Sunday with Gianni.
I cannot wait.
I'm not on
wait. That
Saturday.
Is the best. Dude,
I've been
saying for a decade, I've been saying I wish there was a program I could jump on game day because that's when I have the most information. I've seen the most manipulation, the most confirmation. I'm probably not even on right now. No one's even listening, but I'm just talking to myself.
You're on.
Last call's the place. Last call's the place. That's when you get the latest up-to-date information. That's the spot, baby.
Yeah,
Saturday
I thought he was going to say that he was waiting 10 years to be on a show with me on a Sunday, but I was waiting to be on a show with him. Okay, Gianni the Greek, everyone. Outstanding segment. Guys, please hit that like button. Almost 300 of you watching live, only 60 likes. We need to get to 100 for that daily presidential address. 2 college football totals coming your way. Ross Benjamin's still up. Theodore, my brother. Tell us about the $49 promo that is available to everyone and give us your big game breakdown.
Sure. Late night bailout special, Saturday night, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 here on the left coast. ESPN, Arizona State, and Mississippi State. Right now, look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. Arizona State, 5.5, we'll call it 59. the total. There is some variance on the side. You can find 5s, you can find 6s if you shop around. I watched Arizona State versus Wyoming last Saturday night, and it was a blowout, 27-0 at halftime, 48-7 final. It was every bit as much as Wyoming bad as Arizona State good in that ball game. That being said, Arizona State was pretty good. Sam Levitt, the redshirt Frost QB, 14-22, 258 yards, a pair of touchdowns. Last year, 4 different starting quarterbacks combined over the course of the season to throw 7 touchdown passes for Arizona State. So the fact they threw a pair in the debut without any picks, certainly a positive sign. 49 rushes, 241 yards. Defense swarmed the line of scrimmage. Big improvement after allowing more than 30 points per game over the last 2 years. Of course, 30 new transfers for Arizona State this past offseason. This is a team that was projected to be at or near the bottom of the Big 12. The quotes from Arizona State after the game, real positive. Running back Cam Scatabo, quote, "That was a different team. You saw it. We felt more comfortable on the sideline. I got taken out with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. That's a good feeling." Of course, Kenny Dillington walked to a real bad spot last year. They went 3-9 in Herm Edwards' final season, 3-9 again last year. But this year, they do look a notch or two better. And frankly, Mississippi State, they've got issues as well. Before I talk about the Bulldogs, I do want to talk about that 3-day all-access pass, just $49. All right? Everything's included. There's no bait and switch. There's no nonsense. It's a great deal. It's on everyone's page. Just visit WagerTalk.com. Get me or any of the handicappers 3-day all-access all weekend, every play, every day. Just $49. Great value. Get it now. Look, Mississippi State's supposed to compete for last place in the SEC this year. They're coming off, like Arizona State in a sense. They're coming off a blowout win against a lesser foe in week 1 that didn't tell us that much. They beat Eastern Kentucky 56-7. But there were some really concerning things from Mississippi State's box score in that game. They only had 21 minutes of possession, only a +1 first down edge. The box score not nearly as pretty as the final score. And of course, this is a Mississippi State team that they played 4 road games last year. 3 of them have scored 13 or less. And I know they have a senior QB in Blake Shapen, the kid out of Baylor transfer. But look, the quotes from Mississippi State's dicey defense don't sound too confident. Linebacker Nick Mitchell, quote, "They like to stretch it out, throw the ball on the perimeter. They got some speed out there, so our hands are definitely full this week." I agree. I'm concerned about Mississippi State's defense in this matchup, and I don't think they're going to trade points. If I'm playing, I'm laying Arizona State or pass for this better. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, that was the longest big game breakdown you've ever given. Is that to spite me because I went a little long yesterday? It was.
Wholly to spite you. Yes.
Nice.
I added extra. I just kept adding more. Dude. I'm like, I got some good quotes from both sides. Let's just load it up there for Prez.
Nice. Look at that handsome guy sitting over there. What Ross Benjamin. Ross freaking Benjamin, baby. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me once again. Always a pleasure to be on with you two gentlemen, two of the best in the business, and it's a feather in my cap every time I'm on with you guys.
Look at him, Teddy. So polished, so proper, so kind and thoughtful. Okay, let's move on. Guys, as Teddy mentioned, we got that. What, Teddy?
I said the opposite of me is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, most people who are human are opposite to you, Teddy. Anyway, let's just get going. Colorado, Nebraska. We spoke about this game yesterday, Ross, and both myself and Dave Sharapan liked the over. It's 56.5. Where are you going?
I agree with you and Dave. Look, Colorado coming off a 31-26 home win over North Dakota State, a very good FCS program. Shedeur Sanders, again, this kid, when healthy, and if he's not getting lambasted because their offensive line doesn't do their job, he's terrific. 26 out of 34 for 445 yards, 4 touchdowns against 1 interception. Last year's game against Nebraska, they won that 36-14 at home, and Sanders went 31 for 42 in that game for 393 yards. On the downside, they gave up over 400 yards to North Dakota State, an FCS program. So it looks like a replica of last year. where Colorado couldn't stop anybody. They scored at will at times, but couldn't stop anybody. Scored at will, I should say, early in the season anyway. But Nebraska, here's the thing with Nebraska. Dylan Raiola, he brings a dimension to the Nebraska offense, Teddy, that they haven't seen in quite a while. This is a guy who's a great passer. He's mobile. Last week, 19 for 27 for 238 yards and a 40-7 win over UTEP. And Nebraska's offense actually looked dynamic, which when was the last time we said that? Couple that with the fact they're facing a porous Colorado defense, and couple that with the fact that Colorado, to me, is still a good offensive team that will be able to move the ball. I look at this game to be played in the 30s, Teddy, and I like this game to go over the total of 56.5.
So Matt Rule at Nebraska has been an under machine since he got there. I think they've cashed 4 or 5 overs over the 2 years he's been there. Week 1 went over. Everything last year went over. Last year they had one total over 50. It came in this game against Colorado. That game stayed under. I'm saying the Nebraska's under. I've been saying over, but I mean under. Nebraska was an under machine last year. They cashed under against Colorado last year. They cashed under last week. Isn't this total high for a team that just keeps cashing unders?
It's a good point to bring up, but again, I'm going to go back to what I alluded to. That Nebraska's offense, we're going to see a step up from them, and a lot of those unders last year were a result of Nebraska's lack of offensive firepower. I think with Dylan Raiola under center against again, porous Colorado defense, they showed that last week against an FCS opponent. They showed it last year all season long. I think that will be the major difference in regards to Nebraska playing a lot of unders last year compared to this year, where I think you'll see more of a 50-50 split. But I like this matchup for the Nebraska offense to continue their momentum they showed last week against UTEP. And again, Nebraska's defense is going to be much better than what Colorado faced last week, because North Dakota State, as good as they are at the FCS level, doesn't stop the pass very well. And I just think we're in for a high-scoring game here. So hopefully that answers your question, Teddy.
Ross Benjamin, outstanding stuff. Ross, we've got a $49 3-day all-access pass. It's an incredible deal. What do you have going with the clients this weekend?
Yeah, I got 3 college football up right now. I'm going to probably add another one later today. 3 college football, that is, for Saturday. And folks, since September 9th of last year, a 64-45 run in college football, which is good for 59% over a $3,600 net profit. Also, college football last year, number 2 overall at WagerTalk in terms of money earned. College football, NFL combined last year, number 2 in terms of money earned. And I will have a 5% top play in the NFL on Sunday. And just a reminder, folks, since February 4th of this year, 24-10 with my last 5% top plays. That's 71% and good for a net profit of $6,500, Prez.
Outstanding, Ross. Just an amazing, constant, consistent winners. We're lucky to have you. Guys, real quick, Bill Sanda, one of our listeners, Titans, wrote lots of commercials lately. What's up with that, Prez? I'm assuming you're talking about the commercials on YouTube. I have no idea. I don't know if that's something we do or if that's something YouTube does. It's a YouTube thing,
YouTube.
right?
That's all YouTube. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about the commercials that they put on our show.
But there is something. Actually, there is something you can do about those commercials, Teddy.
Oh,
you
YouTube
can buy their
something?
premium. No, you can buy their premium membership, and then you don't get any of those commercials. Which reminds me, a stupid question, a stupid off topic. I go to Florida. I watch Amazon Prime or Disney at my parents' house, and all of a sudden they're commercials. I'm like, what the hell, parents? Why are there commercials? They wanted to save the $4 a month. My parents have a billionaire son, and they wanted to save $4 a month. on their stupid streaming service. Okay. Boise State, Oregon. 60 is the total. Are we going over or under here, Ross?
I like the high side here, Prez. Again, I'm usually an under better, but these two situations to me presented makes me go the other way. Boise State, their opening game at Georgia Southern, 13.5 point favorite. They failed to cover 56-45. So they failed to cover not because of their offense, because of their defense. Let's start with their offense, though. 651 yards of total offense in that game on the road. And they showed a pretty balanced run/pass offensive productivity. They have a star running back in Ashton Gianni, who ran for 6 touchdowns last week. Teddy, I think he's off to a Heisman Trophy type of awareness anyway. And also the bad part of the whole situation is against a team that really isn't top-notch. They gave up 45 points and 461 yards of offense, and Georgia Southern torched their secondary, throwing for over 350 yards in that game. Oregon, Teddy, you look at this final score, 24-14, home win over Idaho last week. What's wrong with Oregon? And, again, I look at box scores like everybody else does to evaluate your plays and see what really transpired in the game. And Oregon racked up 487 yards of offense in this game. And they really didn't turn the ball over at a high rate. So you look and say, how did they only win this game 24-14? And I think that's a very deceiving final score. Dylan Gabriel, by the way, the transfer quarterback that comes in, 41 out of 49 for 330 yards last week. That type of offensive production will more times than not produce point totals in the mid-30s to low 40s. And I think the combination of everything I just discussed, Boise State and Oregon over 60.5 is my play. Real quickly, guys, you were talking about making good bets and continuing to make good bets. This is the type of game I look at last week, for example, or last night. I had the under in that game in the NFL. And, I look at everything and ask myself in the morning when I assess my picks, would I make the same pick tomorrow? In last night's game, unequivocally, it would be yes. Boise State, Oregon, over 60.5 in this game.
So we just talked a minute ago about under machines in the first game. Oregon's been an under machine. You talked at the misleading box score or misleading final score from week 1, but they were catching unders in bunches last year down the stretch. Certainly week 1 was an under. And from a defensive standpoint, you can't compare what Boise faced last week to what they're going to face this week, certainly in terms of their ability to run the football. Does any of that concern you here?
Well, it's always a concern. I mean, when you look at an Oregon defense, really, they were terrific last week. They gave up 14 points and around 230 yards, if I recall correctly. But the problem is, as I see it, for the Oregon defense, they're still going to be a very good unit this year. But the problem that they get presented with in this matchup is what I alluded to, Teddy. The combination, the balance between run and pass makes Boise State a lot more difficult type of offense to defend than what you normally would be used to at the college football level. And again, a star running back, I'm sure they're going to key on him. I'm sure he's not going to come close to the production we saw last week, but he's still going to put up good numbers. And anytime you have a good running game, it opens up your passing game, obviously. And I think Oregon last week was an aberration, that 24-point total against Idaho. I think we're going to look at a team that's going to approach the 40-point barrier in this one against a Boise State defense that showed last week against a subordinary opponent in Georgia Southern that they can't stop anybody. So this is the reason why I'm not going to be scared away from all those unders we've seen in the past with Oregon.
There we go. Ross Benjamin, what a show. What a week. And it's not over yet. Teddy covers, we still have the daily presidential address. Daniel, cue up the music that isn't music, and let's get going. Oh, wait, Teddy, what did you want to say? Your hands like jazz hands? Go ahead.
Say goodbye to Ross. Thank you, Ross, for your contribution. Have a great day.
Thank you, Teddy.
Love you, Ross. Love you, Ross. Thank you, Ross. I got all excited. Okay. Time for the daily presidential address. Guys, I got 2 college football totals to give out for you right now. One is on the Penn State Bowling Green game and the other on the Rutgers Akron game. Just want to make mention, we have a $49 promo up. You get 3 days of any handicapper for only $49. I've won every single day this week of betting. I won Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I passed on Wednesday. I'm also 65% in the last 2 years of regular season NFL ATS bets. I have a 5% play up. It is an NFL ATS bet. I have 2 baseball plays tonight, 4 college football plays tomorrow, and 6 NFL plays on Sunday. Use that promo code on me. Let's have a wicked, awesome weekend together. Okay, Penn State Bowling Green. We're going with under. I handicapped this game at 49. It was bet up recently. It is now 50. I obviously like the under just as much at 50 as I did at 49. Bottom line here is new Kansas, old Kansas offensive coordinator, now at Penn State, irrelevant. The problem I have in this game is that the Penn State quarterback, Drew Allar, he just can't get that ball downfield enough. He struggled last year pushing the ball down the field, although he did look good against West Virginia last night. But Bowling Green, they have a solid defense. And this weather here is really a key factor. It's projected to be terrible. Double-digit winds expected and rain. This is going to dampen the scoring. Take under the total. Next, we look at Rutgers versus Akron, and I handicapped this at under 41. It is now 40. I still like the under a lot. Akron is not a good offensive team. They only managed 3 points against 2 better defensive teams they faced last season, Kentucky and Miami, Ohio. They also managed just 6 points last week against Ohio State. Granted, that is Ohio State. Rutgers isn't Ohio State defensively, but they're good enough, and especially under head coach Greg Shano. I messed up his last name. Anyway, I can't see them scoring more than a TD in this game. I think we're going to take the under 40, low or not. We talk about this all the time. Take the lower totals under, the higher totals over. Rutgers and Akron under the total. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Teddy covers. Take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it for the Friday edition of Wager Talk Today. We have Wager Talk Last Call Saturday and Sunday with Kelly Stewart as your host, so you don't have to deal with Prez all weekend. And then Prez and I will be back on Monday with another week of Wager Talk Today. Between now and that show, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your bets.